The human body learned to digest animal milk recently. But perenesti lactose evolved not all ethnic groups. Why do people even drink the liquid, which the cow feeds its babies, and it is useful if milk for adults? Today cow's milk is enough competition. Soy milk, almonds and other plants is becoming more popular. It is suitable for vegans and people with milk allergy or lactose intolerance. However, the proliferation of alternative types of milk is merely the latest twist in the millennial relationship of humanity with the animal milk. And throughout history, they were very different. If you think about our milk consumption, it is quite a strange situation. We drink the liquid that the body produces, cow feeding her babies, and we have to squeeze out of her udders. In many cultures, it seems unheard of. In 2000, China launched a nationwide campaign to encourage people to consume more milk and dairy products because they are healthy. The campaign had to overcome deep prejudice among many Chinese, especially the older generation. Many Chinese people today will feel sick from the usual cheese that is made from cow's milk. In the history of mankind, which has more than 300,000 of years, milk consumption is a relatively new habit. About 10,000 years ago, hardly anyone drank milk, later only in exceptional cases. The first who began to use milk and dairy products were peasants and herders in Western Europe, the first peoples who began to live with pets, in particular cows. Today it is common practice in Northern Europe and America and many other places. Milk contains a type of sugar, lactose, to be digested in the body, which babies produce a special enzyme, lactase. But after the baby stops feeding with the mother's milk, lactase loses its activity. Without lactase to fully digest dairy, lactose impossible. As a consequence, when an adult consumes a lot of milk, she may experience bloating, painful cramps and even diarrhea. Obviously, the first Europeans who started drinking milk had a fair amount of flatulence. But then interfered with evolution. And in some people the lactase enzyme started to be active into adulthood. They have developed perenesti lactose. We can drink a little milk without negative consequences for health. To consume other dairy products, butter, yogurt, or cheese, they all contain smaller amounts of lactose. Hard cheeses, like cheddar and butter, contains less than 10% of lactose from its quantity in the milk. Parmesan, for example, contains so little that the cheese can. There are people with repronounce lactose. However, as explained by genetics professor Dallas Swallow of University College London, resistance to lactase developed among the peoples who were engaged in pastoralism. Until recently, lived on Earth a lot less people and the local population was less numerous, so some groups this mutation could just randomly around. On the other hand, this also raises the question about why other people are so well adapted to milk consumption. After all, humanity pretty early on learned how to process milk, and therefore the great need to gene mutation of the lactase was not. Perhaps this has been influenced by some other factors. Milk is a source of many nutrients, fats, proteins, sugar and minerals, such as calcium and vitamin D. It is interesting and different, or has this gene mutation dominant and still? The answer to the question is given the observations Catarsko nationality Coquimbo in Chile, which received a gene for tolerance of lactose from the Europeans who arrived on these lands 500 years ago. In the population of Coquimbo, this trait is spreading rapidly, just as it was the Northern Europeans years ago. But this is rather an exception, because Coquimbo milk is the main source of supply. Studies show that milk consumption recently decreased in developed countries and among young people. Although data used by young people yogurt instead of milk. Moreover, in January this year published a large study on diet, which is the most healthy and least harmful for the planet. Although the diet was reduced as much as possible the consumption of red meat and other animal products, it still contained the equivalent of 1 glass of milk every day.